Hey everyone, this is Dan with the Spiritual Underground Podcast. Going to take a minute to talk about Anchor. I've been with Anchor for a little over 2 years now, and podcasting couldn't be easier. If you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. Let me explain. First off, it is free. There are creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. Anchor will distribute your podcast for you so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcast, and many more. You can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. Download the free Anchor app or go to Anchor FM to get started. Let your voice be heard. Welcome, everyone. This is Dan with the Spiritual Underground Podcast, coming to you from my living room. Seems to be my spot lately. I kind of miss doing these podcasts out in the wood shop. I still am struggling with getting Wi-Fi out there. Hell, I'm struggling with getting Wi-Fi in my living room to work, let alone out there to the shop. So we'll work with what we have. If you're not familiar with the Spiritual Underground Podcast, it's primarily a 12-step based recovery podcast. I do explore other areas where people become better versions and are on a trajectory of being better versions of themselves one day at a time. DTMWW.net is my website. DTM Woodworking and Handyman if you're in the Louisville metropolitan area. I'm my only paying sponsor, so I'll make sure that he gets his due. And you need woodworking and handyman work in the Louisville metropolitan area, you can contact me at 502-292-7444. 12-Step Spiritual Recovery is a book by James Christopher Cone, and the primary topic of tonight's podcast. And whether if you're listening to it tonight, today, or when you're listening to it, it may be in your morning. You've actually had a guy today that listened to last year's, just fluky, listened to last year's women's retreat podcast. I have a sponsee in Salt Lake City, and I was telling him that what I was doing with him, because I work with him at 5 p.m. on Sunday nights, and I told him what we were doing. He said, I listened to last year's podcast today. How about that? So that's what we're doing. This 12-step spiritual recovery. We got a great group, a great bunch in a couple different meetings. The ladies meeting really is hopping. I'll just speak freely and say that I've always, I want everyone to have what I've got through this. And one of the things I've got is a fellowship of men that I can truly rely on, that are my brothers. I spent the last 5 days with one of them down at the cabin, chasing turkeys around. And I'll just speak freely. I have not seen that much in the women's circles. And it's there today. And it's there because of TSSR and the wonderful gals that are here with me today, and a few more too that aren't here. That book by James Christopher Cone is called 12-Step Spiritual Recovery. We call it TSSR for short. You can get it on Amazon. It is the 12 steps for anyone. It is no longer the 12 steps limited to those who fit into traditional 12-step fellowship programs. Anyone can use these tools to be better versions of themselves, to wrestle through their past and be the person that the universe had designed them to be. And I found 3 niches that I talk about. It's for those who don't fit in the traditional fellowships. 1, 2, it's for those that went through the 12 steps someplace and really didn't get what they thought they were getting. They didn't get there. They just didn't, I hear people say it didn't work for me. And then the third batch is for anybody who might want a deeper dive into this work, because I don't think there's a deeper way to do the 12 steps than what's written in that book. It's gonna dig through more things and allow you to process more things in your life than any other tool I'm aware of. So get that on Amazon. Last year, I'll just start this way. In 2016, it came on my heart to hold a retreat. I really had no business doing that. I had no prior experience. I had nothing that would say this man is qualified to do this. But God and my brothers led me that direction. And I've next month in May will be the 8th one. Holly came into my life, and I've heard people talk about, wish we had one of these. I remember hearing Shannon say this since she came in. I wish we need to do this. We need to do this. We need to do this. And they're now doing it. And those weekends are so powerful for the ones I've been involved with, and from feedback that I get from these retreats. The TSSR ladies retreats are just the same kind of thing, man. And it warms my heart that that's happening. We need more of this in the world. You know, if there's anything we need more of, it's more of the growth that you guys are doing, and that this 12-step spiritual recovery allows. So we did a podcast last year, fresh off of the one, and just thought it was appropriate because my number one mission here is to carry this message and bang the drum of what these 12 steps do for people. And that's the main purpose of that. That is my mission. And letting you guys share what's happening in your lives, and when you go through these powerful weekends, is, you know, the proof's in the pudding. You know, the old 12-step thing said this is a promotion, I mean attraction rather than promotion thing. I'm gonna promote it a little bit. I think we sell ourselves short when we're not promoting this thing adequately. Certainly not going to jam it down anybody's throat, but I want to make sure that everybody knows that this thing is available to them. So I think I'll just start off by handing a microphone off to Holly, and we will go around and share our experience, strength, and hope as a result of this fantastic weekend you all have had this past few days.
My name is Holly. Thank you, Dan, for the introduction, and thank you, ladies, for showing up. We've had a long weekend, and so this is several hours after everybody's gotten home, and they're hopping on a Zoom because they're still so juiced up to actually come and share what we just experienced. And Dan mentioned that back in the fall we get to have our first retreat, and Shannon had kind of mentioned it, threw it out there, said, hey, you know, who would like to do a retreat? And we kind of got crickets at first because there's, you know, it's intimidating to take that on, and there's a lot of work involved. And I'm a doer and raise my hand real quick and help facilitate the first women's group. And we had 9 women at that retreat. And to see the shift in these women's lives over the past several months, it changed their lives dramatically, and it changed the dynamic of the group, because we talk about addiction as the opposite of connection, or connection's the opposite of addiction. And what these opportunities do is to help create a deeper connection. And then when you feel connected, then you get just a stronger recovery. You don't feel like you're in it alone. And so that's really what this retreat provides. And so when we were talking about it, our podcast the last time, we're like, well, maybe we'll do one next year. And we started getting itchy maybe a month after we got back. And we're like, no, there's no way we can wait until next year. We got to do a spring and a fall. So it wasn't originally intended to do a spring, but we all decided collectively that we could not wait until the fall again. And in that period of time, our group has grown almost by double as well. And so we have all these new beautiful women that are coming in, and they keep hearing about the retreat, and they want to be able to experience the juice. And so this time around, we doubled how many people were there from the time before. And some people had only been in TSSR for a month or two, and some had been in here for a while. And so it was really nice to see that about half of the retreat were people that experienced it before, and then half of the retreat were all new women, and everybody embraced everybody so beautifully. And it was a powerful, powerful weekend. And so I'd love to hear from the ladies, maybe something that one of the most impactful moments for you personally, in how this, or an apprehension that you had come into the retreat, and how it's something that shifted for you. Either one of those, something to that effect, if you're open.
Yeah, this is Dan again. That doubling, I experienced the same thing after the second retreat too, is that I think we almost had exactly twice as many people the second time as we had the first time. And as word gets around, the old FOMO gets working, and people do not want to miss out. I suppose we could use the raise your hand tool if you want to, or if you would just like to start sharing, and I saw Donna and Shannon both popped up, and it looked like a tie, but it looks like Shannon got in the door first. So we'll start there. Shannon, welcome.
Hey guys, I'm Shannon. It was a powerful weekend, and it's something that I look forward to every year now recently. The one thing that I love is just watching everybody get their connections. You know, you've got some new people coming in that are kind of iffy about this whole TSSR, and then they meet all these people and they're like, wow, you guys are so happy and they're so loving, and it kind of pushes them to keep continuing to go, you know. And then they get to realize, oh, all these are my sisters, you know, I can call you at any time, and we have this deep connection now. And they have that deep bond between each and every one of us now. And I love going because I get to learn more about myself there, you know, whatever I can uncover. And I think that's really cool. There's a couple of exercises that I love. I love the stand up for your sister, where we find out we're not alone. You know, each and every one of us have been through the exact same thing in one way or another. And I think that's really powerful to find out that, you know, we try and act like we're so unique and we're different, but really we're not. And to find out that you're not alone is really cool. Thanks, guys. I'm Shannon.
Thanks, Shannon.
Yeah, definitely. And that is something that happens. That's a 12-step phenomenon too, kind of thing, is that people, you know, I ran around life thinking I was all alone in my problems, and to meet a bunch of people who were dealing with the same stuff, and especially when they seem to have gotten better, then that, you know, gave me hope that the same could happen for me.
Yeah. And in TSSR, it's recovery for all. So not everybody has necessarily a chemical dependency. And to be able to see that we have experienced a lot of the same things in life, but the path that we chose on the back end and what we're here to recover from could be different. But what got us there is a very similar journey. And so that's really eye-opening and beautiful to see that. So thank you, Shannon.
Donna.
Hi, I'm Donna. I was a newbie. I was a first timer on the retreat, and I came into TSSR just before the ladies went on their first one. And I was so jealous because I was so excited about, I'm an alcoholic. So that's, and I hate to say I'm proud that I'm an alcoholic, but if I hadn't been an alcoholic, I wouldn't be where I am right now, which is in a state of very great happiness and gratitude that I am in the midst of this program, because it is a powerful program. And as Holly said, it's not just for people who suffer from addictions to alcohol and other chemicals, but you know, we all have isms. And just to go on the shirt tails of what Shannon said, that the stand up for your sister activity, whoa, that was an impactful activity that we were involved in, because at one time when we stood up for our sisters, everyone in the circle was standing. And so you are never alone. There is always somebody who shares the pain, knows the heartache, has been through those experiences. And TSSR has offered us a safe place to speak our truths and to shed light on shame and guilt and past mistakes, choices that we've made. But it also arms us with a toolkit of ways to overcome those kinds of decisions again in our life. There was one other, or actually three other activities, but all around the same theme, and that was meditation. There were four meditations, and I'm new to meditation, and that was just such a wonderful experience. We had 4 different kinds of meditation and found out that there really is no, this is just one way you can meditate. This is how you have to meditate. Lots and lots of different ways, lots of different ideas. And it just opened my mind to how calming meditation can be. And one of our sisters was nice enough to give us a necklace with a stone in it. It's labradorite. And I don't think I'm ever going to take mine off because it makes me feel powerful and it makes me feel like I have the force. So if you are curious about TSSR, if you try it and you don't like it, then you can just go back to doing whatever you were doing before. But I have to say, from my own experience, I have a feeling that you'll be as excited as I am about moving forward. And that's all I have. So thanks for letting me share.
Thanks, Donna. There's a little joke that goes around that says, you try this out and we will refund your misery for free. You can have that right back. Yeah, you said a bunch of things that touch me in that, but you got anything?
This is Holly, and I love what you all are talking about, stand up for your sister. So I'm going to just explain it just briefly so people that are listening might understand. It is a powerful experience. And so we share on different topics of things that maybe somebody might have gone through, some difficult things, but there's a sheet of paper where people get to check mark whether they did it or not. And instead of actually saying it out loud, we spread the sheets out to other people, and one of your other sisters reads your sheet and they don't know who it is. And they anonymously stand up for that sister if whatever is on that sheet says yes. And we all were hurting yesterday and today because our legs hurt so much from standing up for our sisters that we had our own little exercise. And so that was just really beautiful to see how many of us had to stand up for each other and got to stand up for each other. And it was just, it's really powerful if you've never experienced it. So I just wanted to explain that a little bit. And Donna, I love what you shared about the meditation, that there's no wrong way to do it. And I said this today, that the only wrong way to do it is to not do it, is just experience it, because there's all kinds of different ways. So.
Yeah, and to go further on that a little bit is that Shane was having a TSSR meditation meeting, and that is starting back up on May the 3rd. So that's a Monday nights at 8 p.m. at Token 3. I think it's on Breckenridge. That starts back up May the 3rd. So that's really cool. And Shane's really has a heart for meditation and spreading that word around and allowing people who haven't maybe have any experience with it to have some experience with it in the same way in a group setting, so that you can around safe people. That's another thing. That's what we create here, is a safe place to be you. Catherine, your hand is up next.
Hi, I am Catherine. I'm alcoholic, but I really love TSSR because it's really not about labels or any kind of, thing. It focuses on the solution, and it focuses on spirituality, which is not religion. And I actually found TSSR last June, and had, over the years, 13 years, I guess, had done 12-step work. And, I guess it was okay, but it just never quite got to where I wanted to be, and when I was introduced to some people in TSSR, it's like, oh my God, I want what they have. And I actually grew up going to Catholic school. So I was familiar with retreats. I was familiar even at a young age, like the impact that they can have. So I was really excited to go in the fall. And, like Holly was saying, like a month later, I'm like, okay, when are we going again? It's just so wonderful that it didn't matter how long you've really been around. You can be just as impacted by the work that we did. And and to get away from all the crap and just to have some solitude. For me, I'm, a mom of 2, and, they've been out of school since like last March. I take care of my dad. They're just time for myself is just few and far between, it seems like, and just have some quiet time to reflect and think. And, I appreciated that so much on this retreat. And I guess one thing that we did, and I love every time, even in like normal meetings, when you have like a jar of topics and you just pull out a topic and then that's what you talk about. And when we were doing it last night, I pulled out, and it's funny because there's two, a side on each, on the popsicle stick, it had items on each side. So anyway, and I pulled it out, and the first side that I saw was self-love. Just immediately, it was kind of like a little bit of a kick to the gut, because I know, like, deep down, I don't do that very well. And I have these insane expectations of myself that, like, you know, are pretty much unattainable. And so then I'm not deserving of that, which I need to work on. And it's incredible because you're able to do, you know, the work to allow you to be your best self. And your TSSR allows you to be, like I said it, but in the solution, you know, you're not sitting there preoccupied. Yeah, you know, you've got to stop doing this thing or getting, you know, drinking or drug. You know, we know that's an obvious. But what is it? What did that do, or why were you using those things? Like, get to the core issues, you know, and have that space, like these weekends, to really get away and share with other people. And that's why Stand Up for Your Sister is so important. It's like, oh my gosh, other people have experienced this same thing, this thing that I was either so ashamed of, so hurt by, so angry about still. And then you can start letting that go. Just anxious. And I mean, honestly, over the last year, I've had a lot to be angry about. I mean, not to like give justification, but I've been able to look at my part, or I've been able to say, you know, this is also somebody that's spiritually sick or going through a hard time or looking at their side. So, I mean, at its fundamental basis, it's just allowing yourself, you know, I'm saying the retreat allows you to take a pause, you know, and to kind of regroup, settle into some of the work, and you know, and look ahead at okay, where am I now? And right now, technically, I'm into step 8, going into 9. All right, let's regroup. Where do I need to be heading now? And that's something that we asked today was, okay, you know, where are we seeing yourself go? So anyway, I just, I appreciate being able to do this work with other women. I appreciate having a plan on making myself a better person, you know, for myself. That's number one, not for anybody else, but because I want to, because I am deserving of a whole full life. So anyway, I'm Catherine.
Amen on that. And Shane and I were talking about a little bit about that this weekend, as far as that commitment. You know, you had to make a commitment to yourself that you're going to do this, that you're going to actually take time. And, you know, when you do that, the universe seems to shine on you when you make a commitment to help yourself, you know, to set aside time to say, okay, this weekend, you know, somebody's going to have to come fill in the blanks because I'm out of here, you know, and it does. And it pays off. It really does, somehow or another. I don't know how that thing works. It's how that universe shines on me kind of thing, but it does. Danielle.
Hey, this is Danielle. So I had started coming out to the TSSR women's meeting, and very shortly into that, I was invited to the retreat. Mm-hmm. I was very hesitant about going, just because, you know, it was a lot of people I'd never met in person, and then it being 2 nights overnight. I'm like, wasn't sure about it. So Shannon called me on phone and was like, so, you know, do you want to come to the retreat? And I was like, you know, maybe I'll come out for a day and hang out with you guys. And she's like, I think if you come out here, you'll want to stay. So then she
What's that mean?
And I was like, yeah, I'll go. And it gave me, you know, a couple weeks to prepare, but boy, am I glad that I did. Like, it was just, and just the connection with everyone it's crazy. Like, you can't, explaining it over this doesn't do it justice. And I'm a really skeptical person. And it's changed my life. I was even talking to my sister about it today, and she's like, you know, because I've told her a little bit about the book, and she's like, you know, that sounds really cool. She was like, you know, even if I don't necessarily something that I can do. And I was like, yeah, you know, 'cause she's a big worrier and she stresses out a lot. And I was like, you know, if you're looking for a happier life, you know, and wanting to build something bigger with your higher power, you know, it's something else for real. And it's hard to pick what impacted me the most this weekend, but just today, because we had already spent the whole weekend with everyone, and we went around and did what's called Holly called it a warm shower, but it was a hot shower because it was just amazing. So what we did was we went around and say they started with me, and everyone went around and, said something nice. And it was just crazy because a lot of the things that people said were things that I doubted so much about myself and things that I've really always kind of wanted to be. And it was just crazy to know that people saw me that way. So anyways, thank you guys.
Thank you, Danielle. That's that moves me a lot, because that's exactly, I had that luxury of being along with Christopher while he's writing this book, and we sit around and dreamed about touching people in the way that you just shared there. And you've blessed me by sharing that, because that is the aim of what we're looking for. It's somebody else said it, it's impossible to wrap words around what goes on here, but yet we will try.
Mm-hmm. And I wanted to speak to Danielle, that when you were sitting in that circle and you were getting showered with these beautiful words, you could tell that you were receiving them, and you were, I got a picture, and you are beaming like rainbows and butterflies are all flying out. Like you were just elated. And I could see that it really made an impact. And that's why it's so important to end on that, because it's hard for us to receive that sometimes. And you did so openly receive it because you got so much out of this weekend, and you showed up for yourself, right? Like there's an energy too, that's so important, that when we sign up for these retreats, making a commitment to being open, even if we're in fear, to be open to what happens and what can happen, and letting our higher power move us wherever we need to be. And you just floated through the weekend, allowing your higher power to lead you where you needed to be. And so that's why you got so much juice out of it.
Yeah, very cool. That is, again, words won't do it, but Holly did a pretty good job there. Mary, you are up next.
Well, I'm on fire, let me tell you. I'm seriously on fire. Cindy needs to be here to sing, to serenade. My soul is on fire. Okay, so the first thing this Jesus quoting atheist is going to do is quote Jesus. He said in Matthew 18, "Truly I tell you, unless you change and become like little children, you will never enter the kingdom of heaven." So this process of TSSR, that's exactly what it does. It makes you get back to that inner child, that inner spirit of happy, joyous, and free that we all had before we got stomped on, like Chris says. And so coming to the end of the weekend and reflecting on everything in my hour drive home, just the wisdom and the knowledge that I've gained from TSSR thus far, and I'm only like on my fourth step. I've skipped a little bit ahead to the fifth step. I actually read through the whole thing and did it in my mind, wrote some of it down on paper. I've got it all in here in my little my 4-step book. Has a quote from the Bible on every single page. It's crazy. So anyway, so everything I've learned thus far, that's the message that comes to mind. I mean, as I was thinking about it before the meeting, I was like, I couldn't wait to share. I mean, so it's striking to me that this is the work of TSSR, to restore the spirit of our happy, joyous, and free inner child. I mean, mine was stomped on from a very, very young age, by people who didn't really know any better. They were sick themselves. It's just crazy. So anyway, let me get back to my notes. So I've told my dad for the last 20 years that I didn't believe in God. And he would always ask me, so what's your definition of God? And I don't know if he's talked to his 2 brothers that are in AA, and he's kind of picked up on, they have their own, they choose their God. They have their own higher power of their understanding. And I think that's what he's been getting at with me all these years. What's your definition of God? What if, if you can tell me your definition of God and why you don't believe in him, then I'll understand. So, I mean, I think I can honestly tell him now that I do believe in God. So, so the God I was raised to blindly believe in is not the God that I have an understanding of now through TSSR. So this weekend, just incredible. I came in very anxious, wondering, what's this going to be like? Is nobody's going to like me, yada, yada, yada. Ego getting in the way again. And then the whole stand up for your sister thing. I mean, I surprised myself. The only reason I shared that was because I was a dummy and wrote in purple ink and everybody was going to know. I told them myself. So I'm like, you know what? I might as well just share. And so now, like on the way home, I'm like, there are so many young women, coming up. Our culture is crazy. The way we teach our young women.
You're not on it, are you?
Mm.
And TSSR just takes it to a whole nother level. So, I mean, I'm on fire. It's just what this can do just gives me cold chills. And I don't know what to say. I don't know what else to say. That's it for now.
Thank you, Mary. I had a little bit of a technical difficulty in there, but I'm going to assume that it got recorded. There was just a blip in there for a few seconds. That's frustrating as all get out. All but one that are here today have been to the retreat before. So everybody here experienced it for the first time. Catherine is the only one that's been here, was to the first one.
Besides me, Holly.
Besides Holly. Somebody was shaking their head pretty regularly. No, but I'm pretty sure that everybody's on the screen. And Shannon
spoke earlier.
Shannon left. Looks like she had to bounce out. Wouldn't surprise that she had some things going on. And it does, I mean, somebody said, a couple of you had expressed that fear and that apprehension and skepticism and all that about trying to walk into something like that. I really applaud you for stepping through that and saying, like, showing up for yourself, saying yes to yourself. It's not an easy thing. I actually had one guy come to one of the retreats. He drove all the hour drive and he stopped at the gate and turned around and went back home. The fear got him to that point. He almost made it, but turned around and went back home. Whatever this is that's in us, that I look at it like this. I talk about this parasite, that there's this darkness, whatever. I don't really go with the heaven, hell, and devil stuff, but there's some dark energy, some kind of thing that is not really wanting me to take care of me. And it will hijack my operating system and have me do self-defeating behaviors, whatever they are. And it's the same. That's the way I look at that thing that will turn you around at the gate and drive an hour back home when you were just, right at the line of breaking through to something. And luckily that guy did come back to the next one. And had a huge breakthrough, but he waited a year to get that.
Yeah. And I'd like to share on that. I fielded a lot of calls this week of a lot of anxious women and there are lots of excuses and reasons why they couldn't come or could come, and lots of debates, and even just almost created obstacles for themselves, and then ultimately got to show up for themselves. So it was an interesting dynamic that I saw both retreats now, that I almost anticipate that there'll be some of that navigation, and then ultimately people show up for themselves. But it almost as if the devil is creating obstacles, but I think it is our egos and this dark energy sometimes that does that. But then you push through and show up. So
yeah, I have I'll always have a certain segment where if it's 2, 3 that drop out at the last minute, within the last week before the retreat, something will come up, and it'll never be anything that's really, in my world, solid. I mean, if you had a loved one in the family die, or you had somebody sick, or you had some like real thing that happened to your life, I get it. But it's always like, well, I really need to cut the grass this weekend. And you're like, oh, come on, dude, you got to give me something better than that. My participants window jumped out when I had that little thing there. Evelyn, let's hear from Evelyn.
Hi, I am Evelyn all day long. And it was funny. A few months ago, the guy that I work with, I was helping him move. And he had a sticker on his window in his bathroom, the mirror. And it said, I'm looking directly in the face of all my problems today. And I thought, dang, that's kind of profound. And that was one of the first things that I discovered in TSSR, was that I may think that it's my husband's problem, or my child's problem, or my job's problem, or my mother's problem, but I'm the only person that I can make a difference really for. Not for, two. Yes. Different number. I have to change me. And when they said this was, I will say, I didn't go to the retreat last year because we lost a grandchild in the summer, and COVID scared the ever loving life out of me. I was so afraid of it because immunosuppressed systems kind of run in my family. And there were a lot of things that held me up. And so I let fear get hold of me, and I didn't do that this time. I let me being able to affect me be the sole focus. In fact, I was out Wednesday or Tuesday, and I was having a day, and I was really, really antsy. And I did a drive-by on Shannon, and I sent her a text and said, I'm in your driveway, I'm coming up. And I don't ever do that. I don't go to anybody's house. I don't see people. I wear masks everywhere. I am that person because I have people that depend on me, and I have to depend on myself too. Okay. But so Shannon needed me to be there when I got there. And so that's one of those little TSSR support things that popped up. A lot of times when I show up somewhere, or when I call somebody because I need help, they need me as much as I need them. And that was the thing that I learned during this. That was the product of this retreat for me. All of these women were here for me, in support of me. They were all on my team. And I felt included. And that is a huge thing for me, because during my whole life, I have chosen to not let anybody see all of me, because if you see all of me and you choose not to be my friend, or not to accept me, or not to like me, then it's me. But if I don't give you all of me, then I'm protected, because, you didn't really get all of me. So if you rejected me, it doesn't really matter. And I always wondered why I was the last one picked on the team, or why I did this or did that, why things weren't just right. And it was because I truly believe, through the 12 steps that I've worked in, 12 steps to spiritual recovery, I believe it was because I was never willing to give you all of me and to accept all of you. And so that was what that is what I carried home in my to-go bag. And I'm going to carry that everywhere I go. And I'm Evelyn, and I am so grateful to you, Holly, for, what's the word? You were not a participant, you were a facilitator. Woo-hoo! I love it when the words come. For facilitating us. And yes, you were a participant. You did an excellent job at riding that fence, being our facilitator, and still being there and being our friend. And I'm very grateful that I can call you.
Aw.
Thanks.
I love you, Evelyn. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. And there, and not to get too much, but me and Evelyn have had some interesting dynamics over the past journey, over the past several months, and to have this turnaround because of this program, that we get to dig deep and find out what our blocks are to our relationships, and how we get to uncover both equally what it is that blocks us from growing intimacy with others and connections with others, and remove those blocks, and then allow ourselves to connect, and that powerful connection that we both got to experience when we met in person. Because often, most of these women, I never got a chance to meet in person until we did the retreat. And to that energy exchange is just nothing, like, you can't duplicate that. But it's the energy that you bring. And Evelyn showed up that day bringing it, and you got your cup filled because you were open and willing to receive. And I appreciate your openness and willingness, and I received that compliment. Thank you, because I enjoyed both facilitating and participating, and it is a beautiful thing to be.
Yeah, and this whatever happens when, the fact that y'all show up for yourself, make the commitment to do it, and then also realize that in the same breath, the paradoxes that are here, that I have to do it for me. I have to do it for me. But there's this energy too, that where you're there really for everybody else too, and without that paradox where I'm here taking care of me, but I'm showing up for you. Retreats wouldn't be very fun with one person. No matter how much I wanted to show up for me, it wouldn't make any difference. I need to have that, that exchange. And I've heard somebody give a definition of intimacy once, and I throw it out fairly often. It's that it is me being me, and me letting you see me, the real whole me. When some of the things that I bring, that's one of my things I talk about at the retreats, that you, every piece of you, all of you are welcome here. Your darkness, your pain, your pleasure, your light, your love, your hate, it's all welcome here. You bring all of you here. and creating those safe places where you know that like what you shared there, anything sensitive is shared there, you know, with absolute confidence, it's not going anywhere. That way you can actually feel free to talk about it. Cause you know, I'm not telling you something if I think it's getting out of this circle. I am not doing it. And that trust that builds from that fact that you show up for yourself and you show up for the others. It is some awesome stuff. So everybody's been around once, and we will hold on a minute. Something got goofy. I'm trying to figure out what it is. And Michelle bopped out and she had her hand up, but she was she fell out. So let's give just a second here and see if she gets in here. Hey, Michelle, you dropped out for just a second there. I don't know if it's going to be possible driving down the road, but we'll give it a try. I think you had your hand up, didn't you?
I did have my hand up.
Okay. It's your turn.
Okay. Hi, I'm Michelle, and I'm so happy to be here, and the retreat was amazing. I think the most impactful thing for me was just this overwhelming feeling of belonging. I think that's something that's been a struggle for me my adult life, and the ladies went above and beyond to make everyone feel welcome and loved. I mean, I get out of my van door and I'm like rushed at with hugs. So I hadn't had the chance yet to meet anyone in person besides Holly, because I'm way up in Michigan. So it was just that alone was amazing. There's authentic love that is overflowing. And I want to share the kind of the same sentiment that some of the other ladies shared, but I really do think the stand up for your sister exercise was super powerful. At first I was like, I don't want to do this, just being honest. But when I saw the ladies stand up, especially some of these topics that, as we mentioned, feel so taboo and like there's no way anybody else could have went through this. And just to see that was just really comforting. I mean, not that you want anyone to have to go through hard things or, you know, the regret of bad choices, but you just didn't feel alone anymore. And as Mary mentioned, you know, there were some topics brought up that we don't really ever talk about. And she was a brave soul and was the first to share on, you know, a delicate subject. And it was just so free. Like I just left that particular session feeling so free to kind of have that weight gone. I have been part of TSSR since October, but I didn't really start diving in until the beginning of the year. And it really has been a life-changing experience. I don't always have the appropriate words, I feel, to express what I'm experiencing, but definitely the more I dive into the work I'm in step 4, the more freedom I feel and less judgment of myself, of others. And so, yeah, the weekend was very freeing, lots of love, and I'm just so grateful I got to be a part of it. Thank you.
Thank you, Michelle.
Yeah.
I had something in me that wanted to doubt the happiness that I was witnessing at those around me when I got here. And part of what quelled that was consistency, seeing that the people that were exhibiting these things were consistent in their behavior. And, you know, when you're with somebody for a weekend, you know, you see if they're, you know, if they're real or not, you know, it's proof in the pudding. And there's some, what we'll find in like in my retreats is that the people who miss it end up feeling really on the outside because they didn't get a dose of this communion that the other folks got. And that is not the intent of it at any level, but that tends to be what happens because the bonding and the connection that happens when you spend that much time with each other, especially doing deep work together, there's no substitute. There's no way to get that. There's no other way to get that other than to do these kind of things together. And it creates, it just, if there's a negative byproduct is those who choose not to show up for themselves end up feeling even more on the outside than what, people are exhibiting today, and talking about how that made me feel like I was actually connected. It made me feel like part of it. And I don't apologize for that. I don't apologize that for a second, because you could have been there, you chose not to. I'm not going to dim my light in order that yours shines brighter. We'll go. Do you have anything to add, Bob, before we go back onto the second round?
I just wanted to add that to that sense of what you're saying, go to any links. Michelle drove 9 hours to be here. There's people that live across the bridge that couldn't come 30 minutes, and they have their reasons. I want to point out that she drove to any lengths for her recovery, and she debated on whether she was coming or not, because that is a big, hefty drive for a weekend. And she got in her car this morning and is driving the straight way back, because this is so important. And so I wanted to just make a nod to that's going to any lengths. I
agree wholeheartedly. My guy from Salt Lake City is actually flying in for my retreat next month, flying in and I throwed the invitation out there, and I really didn't think he'd accept it, but he's got his tickets, and he's going to come fly in Thursday night, stay with me, and be with me all weekend, and then take him back, put him on a plane Monday morning. I guess he'll get to see if he really likes his sponsor or not. Catherine.
That is incredible. I love that. And popping on a plane to come see you. And yeah, kudos to Michelle. I mean, that is really taking it to another level. And I was thinking a little bit earlier about the interesting dynamic that COVID has created. And the fact that if a lot of times when you go to 12-step, or you're doing 12-step work, or in recovery, you're going to a physical meeting several times a week or once a week or something. And, that just isn't the case right now. And it's just really neat to sit there and, not even to feel like someone so well and never having even stepped foot next to them. You're getting ready to give a sister a hug, and you're like, oh my God, we've actually never met. There's one or two people, I was like, I didn't know you were that tall, but it's just, although I know, her kids and all, just some things she struggled with, it's an interesting dynamic, I think, that it presents. And I just thought I'd mention how cool it was to know someone so well, but, not actually seeing him physically in person. It's just cool.
Yeah, we had a lot of conversations about that throughout. We're on another app called Marco Polo, where we kind of go back and forth, and a lot of the women were projecting who might be shorter or who might be taller, and because we only see heads on Zoom, and feeling their energy when they got to be like, I thought you were 5 foot taller, and much different when you get to meet in person. So.
Yeah, I get you're taller than I thought you were on a regular basis. And there is an interesting dynamic. I found that last year was my retreat, and last year was in May, and it was a couple months into the COVID thing, and everybody was locked down real hard. And it was people having to show up and go to some extra lengths to show up. And you all have this, although the threat has calmed down this year, there's this thing of this lack of human connection, the actual physical being by one another, man, that also adds to the specialness of things like this, that you actually get to show up and hug. God damn, I miss hugs.
Yeah, we had a really powerful moment that was really a God moment that I did not necessarily put in the agenda. And what we did is we counted off, and I just the beautiful ladies trusted me all weekend that I said, do this. And they're like, okay. And I had them stand in a circle in the middle, and the middle people closed their eyes. And then there was a group of women on the perimeter, and the women with their eyes closed got hugged if they wanted to be hugged. And anybody that may not want to be hugged could hug themselves to have their own boundary. But it was powerful to see all these women hug. And at first, as a facilitator, I was just going to watch and take pictures and see it. And then I needed some of those hugs too. And I'm not a hugger. And I hopped in, and it was like instant tears, because I realized what a deficit all of us had come in on of that physical touch, of that true compassionate hug. These were not tap on the shoulder hugs. These were bear hugs, like nestle in you, not letting you go hugs. And the energy, I wish I had like one of those barometers that you could like check the energy in the room, because like that I would have bottled up and sold, and everybody across the world would need that today. Those hugs were tremendous.
And I do love, we make a plan for these things, but also when you have the flexibility to allow higher power to come in and drive something, that definitely is, it's otherworldly.
We had a lot of that.
Yep. You don't need to be so rigid that you're not allowing higher power to come in and do some special things. Evelyn, you have your hand up.
There you go. I'll be Evelyn still. Wow. I have to say, I have a really, we'll just call it keen sense of humor. It's not always acceptable, but it's there. Sometimes it sneaks up on people. But being in that circle, that first circle, and I decided by the time we got to that point, I decided I was completely in. And in fact, that was one of our exercises to, be in. And in being completely in, I closed my eyes and just let the people stream by and give me hugs. And it was an ecstatic moment. It was life affirming because I've been isolated. And honest to God, I'm blessed. I really am blessed because I live with two other people. So if I need a hug, I can get a hug. But for all the people who don't have access, my mom lives by herself, and people come over and she's like, will you please give me a hug? But to be able to be in that circle and get what can only be called unconditional love, and to fully accept and receive it, and to be open to it, and just totally anonymous. I kept my eyes closed, and it didn't matter who was hugging me. I just accepted it for the fulfillment and the joy that it gave my soul in that moment. Yeah, that was really a profound exercise for me. And I don't know if it was because of coming back from a year of COVID, or if it was just being within this group of wonderful women. I don't know. Either way, I loved it. Mm-hmm. One other thing, and then I'll be complete. We did a string exercise, wrapping a string around ourselves and making a commitment and tying our knot. Show us your knots, girls. There you go. See? All right. Rock stars, all of you. And my commitment is to gratitude. Sometimes we have gratitude, but we don't let others know our gratitude. And that is my commitment for the next year, to be grateful and to share my gratitude, because I think that's where I dropped the ball. That's one of the places I dropped the ball. And, as I said, this was such a wonderful experience, and to be all in with all of these wonderful ladies and experience something I haven't experienced since 153 years ago when I was in school and had our senior retreat. I mean, it's been a couple of days. But this was just profound. I'm grateful. Thank you.
Thank you, Evelyn. It touches me too. I do have the pleasure of having been along for the entire TSSR ride and watching people come in and watching these amazing transformations of people that have just plain become, completely different people. And I always back up when I say that, because I don't think that's the different person. I think this is the real person. The person that was there for those particular years, that was the different person. It's easy to say what I just said, that we become completely different people, but we become who we really were meant to be. And that different person was who showed up for that number of years in between. Danielle.
Hi, this is Danielle again. One thing I think it's really important to touch on too is, and this is because I can just be, like I said earlier, I can be very skeptical, I can be critical of things, and I can be judgmental. And if I would have heard of something like this, before all this, I would have thought it sounded corny. And, like the hugging and all of that, I would have been like, no, I'm good. So I think it's important to share too, that it's really not like that. Like when you're in it, it's hard to put into words. Like I said before, it's just incredible. And I have like a really, goofy sense of humor. I don't like to just cross the line. I like to, jump 50 feet over it. And, it's not, I guess a good word you could use is stuffy. It's not, and there's some very well put together women there, but it's so judgment free and just so laid back. And I could be my silly, self with my sense of humor and all, and didn't have to feel like, oh, that's not appropriate for right now. And I like that side of it too, is you can really be yourself coming to these. And I think that's so important, for anybody that feels hesitant. Just like, all you got to do is try it. If you don't like it, you don't have to come again. There's no, binding contract or anything like that. So I definitely think that's one thing that is so cool about it, and that it keeps me coming back.
Yeah, very, very, very cool, Danielle. Yeah. And that's the freedom to be yourself in this small group, where that blossoms out to where you have learned the freedom to be yourself out in the world too, and that's what we're all, just exactly what Mary said, and what the core thing of the TSSR is to have the freedom to be me, instead of hiding behind something my entire life, and I think about the poor souls who end up doing that. They walk their entire life hiding behind that charade, and at some point our mortal being ends. And I think, oh my God, I spent my entire life being something I wasn't. That's heartbreaking. So I love that. I hear that, what you're saying there. That is, it just keeps touching me. Mary, you are up next.
Okay, so I can be very judgmental too, and snooty, and really only because I'm judgmental of myself. And that unconditional love that we all felt, that kind of allows me to allow my higher power in, so that I can accept that unconditional love from a higher power. So basically, that the higher power is reflected in all of us when we're connected like that. And I guess the meditations and the prayers that you started with, Holly, at the beginning of each session, you would talk about being open, and we had to go around and say, I'm checking in with, and I am all in. That's, if you really mean it when you're saying it, that kind of allows that higher power to come in through all of us. That's why it's so powerful. It just is. And the other thing, when you realize that we're all human beings and we all have the exact same character defects, that's also a very freeing, and it contributes to that unconditional love that we have for one another, because we're all human beings. We all have the same character defects. We're all trying to be better people. And the only way we can do that is if we stay connected and keep supporting one another and keep allowing that energy to come in through us and share it with everyone. So I just love that you were able to come, Danielle, because I think you're really cool. So, and I'm glad that it sounds like you're feeling the same thing we did. So that's all I got.
Thank you, Mary. Yes, I can certainly appreciate that feeling that Holly has. I get to experience it myself. There is something very special about facilitating these things and being, essentially the catalyst to what everybody is saying. Somebody has to do that, and if somebody doesn't step up and take the lead of something like that, then it doesn't happen, and not everybody's built to do that. We all have wired as our own gifts and different things, so it's not everybody can do something like that, and you're not expected to. It doesn't make anybody less than or somebody else any more than. We are called to use the gifts that we have. And frankly, I think, that I listen to Jordan Peterson a lot, and he redefined the word sin, and not redefined it. He said the original was an archery term of missing the target. And, to miss the target is, not using your gifts is to miss the target. You never even aimed. Donna or Holly, do you want to chime in?
Just a funny little note to that. When we were painting rocks as part of our childlike inner child work, they were talking about exactly what you just said about sin. So God's here with us right here. Like the fact that you spoke to that just now, that was a discussion that was just in our side discussions, not necessarily a part of the retreat, but just as people discussing. And I think Donna might have been the one that was talking about it, and she's up next. So
yeah, that I don't really subscribe to the traditional definition of sin. I don't. I think we're allowed to miss the mark also. So perfection is not a requirement in this program. It's that we are striving and seeking to be better versions of ourselves. Perfection actually is not it might be a target out there someplace, but it is not a destination at any level. It's not part of the equation. Donna.
Here we go. Now, you're right, Holly. It was me. I was just reflecting back on the way Chris had talked about in aftercare. The idea of sin is not what we have come to know sin today, but the archery term, as Dan said, it's missing the mark. And I truly feel like had I not gone on this retreat, I would have been sinning. I'm serious. I would have been sinning in the true sense of the word. I would have been missing the mark because it gave so many opportunities. It was an opportunity to be in the fellowship of a group of wonderful, nurturing, supporting, loving women. But there were also opportunities to get in closer contact with who we are inside. We did it was very frustrating, but it was very telling activity about knowing our core values. And it's just, it went through my mind where in step 4, we're only supposed to use 19 words. Holly gave us a bag full of prompts of core values. And, I think I put 5 back and I had 75 on my lap. And then she said, okay, you have to narrow this to 10. What the hell? I can't narrow this to 10. And then, okay, now you have to narrow it to 5. What? 5? 50, maybe 50. I could get to 50, but no, I think we all got to 5 or 6. But that was an opportunity to really, look inside of myself and say, okay, what is the most important thing to me, not to my neighbor next door? Because I think a lot of this, it showed by age what our core values are. And being just a little bit older, not a lot older, but just a little bit older than some of the ladies. Honestly, I have things, like I told them, I have things in my freezer older than some of them are. But I put number 1 at the top is my health, because at my age, that means a lot to me. And I noticed that some of the younger ladies, that wasn't even on their list. But I'm looking at this next decade as my crash and burn decade. So I got to live it up while I can. And I want to live my best life. And I see the possibility of that through TSSR. And I really would have been sinning on myself had I not chosen to go on this retreat. So I'm just so grateful for the opportunity. So thanks to both of you, because this wouldn't be happening without you guys, Dan and Holly and Christopher. And I am humbled to be in this group, and just thankful, grateful, and happy. So thank you.
Thank you, Donna. Thank you for that compliment too. I think we're all really, someday we're going to look back and, realize that we were on the ground floor of some movement where, a lot of people are going to be touched and have their lives changed, and the lives of the people around them change as a result of that. That's going to be that's going to be something really cool to know that we laid the foundation rocks for what's going to happen. Everybody's been around a couple times, and we are getting there. I kind of feel the steam leaving. I might be wrong there, but I'd like Holly to kind of wrap things up, and then we'll go once more real quick around just to do what I call a concluder and a brief last thoughts kind of thing. I do like that I'm looking at the problem. That's a good news. Somebody wrote it in the chat, and then Evelyn had spoke at that. And I always tell people when I take them through the big book, Alcoholics Anonymous, that the good news in the best news in that whole book, above everything else in there, the best news is that I am the problem, because I have a chance to work on me. I don't have a chance at all to work. If it really was the husband, the wife, the judge, the kids, the employer, if it really was those people that were the problem, then I am screwed, because I can't do a damn thing about them, but I can make some moves on me. Holly.
Just want to express the gratitude for all the women in the group, whether they were at the retreat or not, because it's making it possible that everybody shows up every week to participate. So we have a group to collaborate, to come together, to commune together. So sending love and energy to anybody that couldn't, whatever obstacle that might have been for them, and that they were loved and accepted and thought of and prayed for while they weren't there. And for anybody that's listening that wants to check in, explore it. We're in Zoom. So we have people that live in Ohio, that live in Michigan, that live in Louisville, Kentucky, and Southern Indiana. You don't have to live in our vicinity, because we're on Zoom right now. And this retreat wouldn't happen, like Dan said, if it was just me. It takes everybody to show up. And the learning lesson I had from the first retreat, because it was our first ever TSSR, not just first women's retreat, the first ever TSSR retreat. So there wasn't a framework other than what Dan had shared from his own experience in another group. So I took on probably a lot more than I should have, but did it to figure out what we needed to do for the retreat. And this second retreat had an opportunity, because I've built trust with all these beautiful women, to delegate and to like, it takes all working parts, that these beautiful women stepped up and offered. And a big growth point for me is that I allowed them, and I stepped back and let people's gifts show and allowed them to be who they were. And that's really what this is. It's about growth, right? For everybody. I am far from perfect. I'm growing too. And so this helps me grow just as much as every other woman that is there. So for me, I want to just share my appreciation to each one of you all for showing up and trusting me to guide that this weekend, and showing up for yourself, and also participating in the service aspect. Because I know for me in my life that my life, and we talk about this in the 12th step, is service of others. That this is just an extension of my recovery. This isn't ego. This is truly just another extension, and it gives me so much joy. On my way back, I was sharing with Dan, I'm like, I am through the roof. Like, this is beyond just a good day. This is a majestic day. The energy that I got from all of you all, showing up for yourself and seeing those shifts from that timid, that anxious, that, oh, I'm not really sure what I'm walking into, to these just beautiful butterflies that are like fluttering and open and willing, and just made this huge shift in a matter of days, and the power that you can bring to the others. And so my challenge to all the women at the very end was, think of one or two people that you can spread this message to, because like Dan said, this is a movement. This is for everybody. And so if you're listening and you want to be a part of it, we willingly invite you. And it is the most loving group of women, that is the most inclusive group of women, that no matter what your struggle is, we got you. And I guarantee you somebody else has got that issue, and you're not alone in it. So that's my encouragement. And I just thank you. And thank you all for showing up tonight. This is a long weekend, and you came on tonight to spread some juice because you believe in that. And I really, really want to tell you, thank you for that.
Yeah, very cool. Very, very cool. So want to go just around and one more final thought of what I call a concluder. Go ahead, Catherine.
Yes, Catherine here. I guess what kind of comes to me when if I say like a short prayer and be like, what should I say, is don't wait for like some tragedy. Don't wait for like, oh, my life is shit, to do something. Like, you know, even if life is okay, or, you know, if you want to just be more you, if you want to find maybe some happiness that you don't have or haven't found, or if you feel like you're searching for something and you've gone to the pottery class and you've gone and done this and you tried to, you know, all these different things and aren't quite finding it, or haven't been able to sort of, you know, reach yourself in a sense in a long time, you know, check this out. And if you're looking for just women that are unconditional, I think that was a great way to put it. There's no facade, there's no bullshit. It's just women wanting to grow, to be better, you know, for themselves and for others. And you know, and I was just grateful, you know, for the retreat, because it gave me reminders too of what I want to do each day. I put this in the chat, but just, I'm going to check in each day. I've actually got an alarm on my phone because I was doing it, but not doing it. But at 2:00, I check in, you know, how am I feeling right now? What, you know, am I in what, anyway, so just as a reminder. And then the meditation was a huge check-in, you know, and then also giving voice to, you know, any of that, whether you need to talk to me, but giving voice to gratitude too. I'm glad you brought that up, Evelyn. Tell somebody how you're feeling or what you're thinking, or that you're grateful for them, you know? So I guess you know, I'm in that place right now where I'm so full of juice. I want to run around and shake people like, you got to come find this. You got to come here. I'm telling you, you're missing out if you're not here. So that's all I've got. I'm Catherine.
Thanks, Catherine. Donna.
Just on to follow up with what Holly was talking about with service. This was an opportunity to showcase some strengths as far as service work was concerned. I'm not very mechanical. I'm not very good at putting tents up and things like that. And so, you know, sometimes you have to look for ways that you can be of service to others. And I was given the opportunity to help with the food for the retreat, which is something that I love. I love to do that, and I love to give that to other people. So it's kind of like, as I always use Holly as the example. When I first had Holly as my sponsor, I felt like I had to apologize for taking her time. And she said, no, that's not what this is about. You're helping me by helping you. So I felt like that was a way that I was giving back to these women who give me so much in just a small, tiny way in cooking some of the food for the retreat. And Cindy did an amazing job doing that as well. And so there's room for all kinds of talents and skills, people that have all different kinds of abilities. We had a fire builder, we had the cooks, we had the runners who went to Dollar General store and bought paint tarps so that we could walk in the terrible mud that from the pouring down rain, and it didn't stop us. We didn't stop because of the weather. We went on in spite of the weather, and it was funny sometimes because we felt like we were in a mosh pit, but it still was glorious because we were all together, and it was just a lovely opportunity to be accepted, regardless of your talents, regardless of your skills, regardless of who you are or how rich or how poor, or, you know, what your isms are, or what you need inside to feel better about your life and feel better about yourself. So we welcome you with open arms and open minds and open hearts. So that's our, at least that's my viewpoint on what TSSR is all about. It's a way for everybody to learn something new to help them live a better life. So thanks for letting me share.
Thanks, Donna. Danielle.
It's Danielle again. One other thing I just wanted to touch on, we've talked a lot about the bonding that we had with each other. I think a big thing too was we got the chance to bond with ourselves, and that's nothing I've really done before. So it was different, but it was cool. Like, it felt really good. And I don't know, like, honest to God, it was a life-changing weekend. And I don't know, I not only, feel this connection with my new amazing friends, I feel this connection with myself. And I've been wanting to feel that for so long. And I feel like I finally do. So, that's an incredible feeling. So, just kind of wanted to throw that out there too. Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Danielle. Mary.
So my concluding thoughts are, I have a very scientific, rational, logical mind. I'm a nurse. I've been a nurse for 31 years. And I think one of the reasons this TSSR process works is, it really, in nursing, we have a process. You assess, you diagnose the problem, you plan out the solution to the problem, you implement your plan, and then you evaluate. So this TSSR process basically does the same thing. And the whole assess, diagnose, plan, implement, evaluate, it never ends. It's a circular thing. So just like the steps, the 12 steps, you don't stop doing the 12 steps on a daily basis. And that's why it works. It's just such an all-encompassing process. And it is simple. It's a simple process. Not saying it doesn't take work and time, but it is such a simple process. And it is so enriching. I have gone to my dictionary more times than I have in a long time, and not because they're difficult words. They're just words that are simple words, but we really haven't thought about the true meaning of the words in a long time. And I can't think of one of the words at the moment. Humble, humility. I mean, that's one of the words. I mean, look up the true meaning of humility. Anyway, I can give you countless examples. I should start writing them down. But just words that we use every day, but we don't really think about the true meaning. And Dan's book, or Dan, I get Dan and Chris confused. Chris's book, I mean, that's how deeply it makes me think. And it's not a difficult book. It just makes you think differently and on a deeper level than I have for a long time, since I was like in school studying philosophy. So I just am deeply grateful to all of you guys. You're awesome. You've changed my life. And that's all I got. Thank you. This is Mary.
Yeah, there was a couple last things too on Holly was talking about me sharing things that I'd found that worked for me, because as I shared at the beginning of the podcast, I in no way felt prepared to do that. But as I started and learned things, and now, it bounces back where, Holly has processes and stuff that she's using in that she has. I don't have any idea where they came from. But then she shares them back to me, and I look at bending those around and switching around how they might work in a men's situation, and there's, I was a part of a men's group thing that a lot of what I'm hearing has some parallels with it, and people would ask me what it is. And my best answer to that is it's just men helping men become better men. And, women helping women become better women, and people helping people become better people. It does just kind of boil down to that, because we can't do any of this by ourselves. We've got to have all these different experiences and different gifts and these things in order for this thing to work. And one of the other things was, like, I had a lot of trouble accepting help in the beginning. I was going to do it all, and allowing people to come in and help, and inviting the help. That's actually a big growth thing for me from the facilitating standpoint, was just allowing people to help me. And then I was also thinking, and I had a piece of it today because I was at the cabin today and we were doing some prep work for next year's retreat, and Shane went ahead and left. And I do that at the end. I say it with tongue in cheek at some level. I allow people to help me, but then it gets to a point and they say, how can I help you? And I said, pack your shit and get out of here, because that's the best help I can get, because I need that silence there and that last little button up and make sure everything is kosher, gather up the lost items and all that. And then I sit for a few minutes, and man, just that wave of what comes over me of like, where that residual energy is there from what just happened this weekend, that power is just like, I just, and what's happening at my place is it's changing the energy in the environment. It's a different place than what it used to be because of our being there and what we poured out into the universe. And that balloon spot is just, again, it's just beyond words. And golly, it is cool that this is going on, that people are doing this kind of work, and yes, it helps us, and it does. But the thing is that the ripple effect of what happens to the people who are in our periphery, the people that live in all our perimeters, are also having better lives because we're doing the work and they're not even doing it. And man, it's just unreal. So, Holly, do you want to conclude this thing out, and then I'll say my last little couple things? You're typing at the moment.
Well, I just had a thought. Dan has the luxury and the miracle that he has this beautiful property that he gets to host his retreats at. And we chose to do our retreats at Dean Lake, which is in southern Indiana. And that's where our first retreat was. And we happened to be able to get the same cabins, and then we doubled the size, so double the cabins. But we got to have our retreat at the same spot. And that really did bring that energy was already kind of there. We've already planted that foundation and that footprint of that energy. And this time around, I was at peace. I was frantic the first retreat. trying to get it all ready. I was the most peaceful, and I think it was probably eerily peaceful for some of the people because they've known what I was like the first time, to then go, okay, this is it. It was different. And I think part of it was that energy that we left behind, that we could just pick it up and just keep going. And it's beautiful.
Yeah, it is. Evelyn, did you have something? I can't go all the way around again, but go ahead. Jump in there. I think
Okay.
what you did is you set the back row when we were going around. And
Yeah, this is just a little bitty thing. Our group of ladies, we all benefited from this retreat, and we will continue to meet on Tuesday nights at 7:30 on our Zoom, and someone should mention the email address or the
12stepspiritualrecovery.com
and how they can connect and get on our Zoom if people hear this and they want to connect with us. That's it. That's it. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
thank you. Yeah, if anybody's, if I always say, come play with me, come play with me. If anybody wants to play with us, with these gals, it is open to everyone. If you should, you contact me through my various places. It's dan@spiritualunderground.org. I'm pretty available, dude. So if you look me up, I will definitely put you in touch with this. It's an open meeting to all women, and no matter where you're at in the world, you can jump in here on this. So I'll close this thing out with the same thing I say every single time, because it keeps on working. And when things are working, I keep doing them. That's one thing that I have learned in recovery. When it's not working, stop. And and when it is working, keep doing it. So if you're not having a blast in your recovery, and I think you heard that energy today, if you're not having a blast in your recovery, it's your own damn fault. And thank you for allowing me, for allowing us. That's what happens here, is that we allow each other to participate in our own recoveries. So thank you for that. Peace out.